All right, welcome back to episode 19 of the Art of Approach podcast. My name is Timothy Bray.
And I'm Will Mulvaney.
And in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about fashion, how you can change your entire wardrobe around just by integrating one item.
Creating an environment of safety while dealing with jealousy in relationships.
As well as my experience messaging a woman on Instagram that I met out in the wild and how to set up a date from that. And also how slowing down your actions and activities on an approach can actually help create more presence and more connection. All right, let's get into it. Instagram.
Here is one tip that will instantly make you more attractive to women. It's so simple. Over the years of coaching men for the past 10 years, how to approach and engage women in conversation during the day, I've had the privilege of coaching many different men that dress in many different ways. Over the years, I've learned that there's one specific item of clothing that makes you more attractive to women, and women are more receptive to speaking to you. All you have to do is wear a shirt. It is simple as that. Dressing smarter, women will find more attractive. If you wear a white shirt, that's really where the magic happens. White shirts during the day on a night out, they look good with everything. Your results will definitely get better because you look smarter, more confident, and more attractive.
Okay, what does he mean when he says wear a shirt? Does he mean like a button-up shirt?
White button-up shirt.
Right, but at first he was just like, all you have to do is wear a shirt.
Yeah.
That's what he probably meant?
I think so. And in the video, for those who are not watching the video, he's wearing a white button-up shirt.
Yeah, like he says wear a shirt, and then he goes on to say, even better, wear a white shirt.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, he's just saying to wear button-up, but then ideally a white.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. And I agree with him on this. I think if there's one thing you could wear, it would be a white button-up shirt. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is it's a really good mix between casual and professional. So yeah, before the podcast, Will was asking me how many white button-up shirts I have, and I was like, I don't have as many as I want. I want to get more.
Yeah.
But I do think that would be a great addition to the wardrobe, especially when you're going out approaching women, for sure.
Yeah, I could see. It's just like a clean look.
Mm-hmm.
It's like white, fresh, like, yeah.
Make sure it's ironed.
I don't have an iron.
You can also...
I get one of those no iron shirts.
Yeah, maybe no iron shirt would be a good solution for people that don't like to iron. I know I hate to iron too. Yeah, but as far as the way you're presenting yourself, it's going to make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
And, guys are often overlooking this. And, women, when they leave the house, they're generally, even if it's a casual stroll to the grocery store, they're still fixing up something on themselves. So this is really an opportunity for you to stand out against other guys by thinking about how you're presenting yourself out there.
Right.
So I would say white and button-up shirts really good, but I think also shoes are a really big thing too. And I think if you can find a pair of really, really nice looking fancy shoes to wear, you got the white button-up shirt, you got the fancy shoes, man, that's really not a lot you have to do as a guy.
Yeah. You think like dress shoes, but like not like tuxedo, but you know what I mean?
Right.
Like kind of more casual, but dress shoes still.
Yeah. I aim for either boots or I aim for, when I say boots, I'm not talking about hiking boots. I'm talking about like stylish boots, or dress shoes that, are comfortable, not overly, not over trying to overcompensate with the.
They don't have to be like shiny,
right,
polished shoes. Yeah,
exactly. But just something that really looks really special, that really stands out. Shoes and a shirt, and just think about all the time that you would save if you were not a woman, just by getting a couple of articles of clothing that really work, and that can make all the difference.
Yeah, that's true. And we were talking before about like my ideal situation is like I find something that works and then I just buy like 10 of that shirt.
Yeah.
Just that's what I wear.
I get it, and I
It's,
appreciate the efficiency of that for sure. But there's something about clothing that it not only looks good, it's not only pleasing the eye, but it's also expression too.
Yeah.
And the way that women treat their fashion, they're expressing themselves through it. So when they see you not putting the time and effort into your wardrobe, they're not thinking that you're expressing yourself or opening up. So I think that plays a role in that too.
Yeah. Yeah, that can be too. I have that when I wear something new where I'm like, I've worn this before. Like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's exciting, right? You feel like you get like an extra amount of energy from wearing something new or something that you
There
haven't
can
worn
be,
before.
but there's also like a comfortability in wearing something you're used to.
Mm-hmm.
Where like I know how I look in this already.
Right.
So there is kind of a mixed bag of wearing new stuff or something brand new or like a new look for you.
Right.
All right. So white shirts.
Well,
and then
stylish shoes.
stylish shoes.
Stylish
And then
shoes, yeah.
I mean, you can do a lot with like a white shirt or like I feel like maybe it's just like a bright shirt. It's more of a general way of thinking about it because then you can have more freedom.
So if it's like a light pink or like a light blue or something like that, yeah.
But something that just kind of pops a little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a long way you could go with that. Yeah, I'm wanting to all the guys that are in a program, I'm wanting to get them through the style gauntlet.
Yeah.
I
think that's a good start.
Yeah.
It's the white shirt.
Yeah. I just think it's so overlooked all the time, and there's so much potential there to up your game.
Yeah, it's like just have a clean outfit, clean haircut, cleanly shaven in whatever way that means. Just not like an overgrown face.
Yes. Yeah, making sure that you're getting all your parts, all like the stray hairs, and your nails are also a big thing that we've talked about before in the past. Women can spot those filthy nails from a mile away. Yeah, and just looking fresh, like you're taking care of yourself. I mean, ultimately, all of this, it all comes down to showing the woman that you're taking care of yourself, showing the woman that you respect yourself, and showing the woman that you want to express yourself through your clothes. Those are the main underlying things that are happening here.
Yeah. Cool. Should we go on to Reddit?
Let's do it.
All right. This question is, any men who stick to solely meeting women in real life? Tried dating apps with some limited success, but I think I'll definitely be sticking to the old school way of meeting women in real life. I usually get IOIs, indicator of interest, from more attractive girls in person that wouldn't normally give me the attention on these apps. It's just a matter of being confident enough to actually approach women in real life, which I'm starting to do. Any men stick to solely real life to meet women? Question mark. So, a couple of them right here.
I do want to say though, like I have been thinking about it, and I do think, that using dating apps as a auxiliary source, I think is fine. But you have to be very disciplined, and you have to really manage your time. Like you can't get sucked into it. That's where you just start not only to just waste your time, but you also start to get desperation. So I think it's fine. I forget who it was that I was talking to one of our guys, and he was saying that he sets a certain time limit for him to spend on those apps, and then he just puts them down. So I think using it that way as a other potential lead source
yes,
is helpful, because I mean, really what this is all about is getting as many leads as possible. So if, dating apps are a source where you can, maybe not find the best women, because I wasn't able to find the best women on dating apps. And I know a lot of guys are having problems with that, but it could also be a really good way to just practice your relationship with women in general and take some women out to dates that maybe you're not super crazy about, but have that opportunity to commune with them and to explore them and feel more a part of the female community.
Yeah. I was talking with someone last week about, and he said he had a period where he was approaching, and then he switched over to dating apps, and he was like, yeah, it was just much easier. Like I just got dates. I got more dates. But then when I dug into it, he was like, yeah, it's the girls I was meeting in person were like objectively more attractive to me than the ones on the dating apps. And so I kind of gave him that exact advice, because he was like, I do want to be dating. And the truth is, when you first start approaching, you might not get dates right away. And also you don't want to be thinking that way. You don't want to be thinking like, oh, how can I get dates? So what I told him is like, do both.
Yeah.
There's no need to just pick one or the other.
Right.
Just use dating apps to get your dates and go, but make sure you're still approaching.
I think for people starting out, just going all in on approach can be a challenge, because if you don't have other dates going on, if you don't have dates from the dating apps come in, because you're feeling more of a sense of scarcity, and you're willing to act out of your authentic mode as a result. So if you have dates coming in, even if you're not super excited about them, they at least still give you a little bit of like a feeling of abundance. Like, if this approach fails, I still have something to look forward to, or something like that, is the way I think it really helps cushion some of the blows that you may get when you're approaching and you're not really at that skill level yet in it.
Right. The one thing to be careful is not to let it stop you in the approach side of like, I'm kind of scared to approach this girl, but I have a date tomorrow. So, or like, I can just go swipe instead.
Right.
So recognize that by doing approaching, you are going to probably get better results long term.
Yeah.
Almost definitively you will.
Yeah, for sure. Without a doubt. You'll also probably be able to eventually, once you get in the mode of approaching on a regular basis, you'll probably end up getting more dates too than you would off dating apps.
Yes, yeah. Definitely.
Without a doubt. But in the early stages, I think it's kind of helpful.
Yeah. Maybe give yourself like 2 months of regular approaching, and then maybe using dating apps.
And then just eventually click off of them once you get your stride going.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's ideal. Because like with approaching, it's like you get to pick.
I know.
You don't have to wait for someone to like swipe on you.
You get to pick, you get to make a better impression, you get to increase your odds across the board of something turning into something really special.
Yeah. Yeah, this girl who I had a conversation with yesterday was saying when she meets someone, she was trying to figure out what it was that she looks for in a guy on the first interaction, what that thing is. And I think what it came down to was, she said, he makes me feel safe. And that's something that you can't portray through online conversation.
Yes.
You can't show her like, look, I'm a safe guy. Like, this is who I am.
Right.
I'm not here to hurt you or do anything or try to get anything from you. But that is something you can show in person, in an in-person conversation.
And when she says safe, what she's talking about is, first off, she gets like a general sense of your energy, and inside your energy, she gets a sense of like how comfortable you are talking to her, how calm you are, how little anxieties coming up, maybe. She also gets to understand that you're someone that expresses themselves, that says what they truly desire. And when a woman knows that you're able to tell them what you truly desire, instead of tiptoeing around the topic, they trust you because they know that in the future you'll be able to express that desire
Right.
to them. You've already set the precedence of that.
And there's no like weird, like, what's he trying to do? Like, what is this? What's he
Right.
going for? The other thing is like, I think a big thing with safety is that she knows I think she feels better about like in the future, if this goes badly, like she can reject you and not worry about the backlash of like you getting butthurt and like acting a certain way.
Right.
When she can feel that you're safe, it's like, okay, I can trust him, that I can get to know him, and I don't have to worry about him getting mad if I decide I don't want to continue it.
Right.
I think about that with like inviting girls over. Can seem, I think it's daunting for a girl to be invited over to a guy's place if she doesn't like feel like she can tell him no. You know, it's like if I'm going over there, I have to have sex with him. That's where it's a problem. But if it's like you're going over and you know, like if you don't want to have sex with him, you don't have to. That's like that safety, that feeling of like you can say no and he won't freak out and he won't be butthurt.
Oh yeah.
There's security there.
For sure. For sure. And I think another big thing that leads into the safety of a guy who approaches is the fact that approaching a woman is an act of abundance. And that's why if you're in a scarcity place, approaching women is really difficult. But the act of approaching a woman, for guys that are in a place of abundance, it's pretty simple. So if a guy comes up to her and is doing the act, that's showing in some kind of way that he is in a place of abundance of some sort, as opposed to the guys that are just waiting around for scraps on the dating apps. They may not know to what level of desperation of scarcity they might be at, and scarcity is the most dangerous part of a man.
Okay, what do you think about this? She also had this worry about like if a guy seems too confident, then she thinks, oh, he must do this to everybody. He must talk to a bunch of girls. He must approach a bunch of girls.
Yeah.
And when I laid it out, because from that I was like, okay, like I do. And that doesn't change anything about my intentions. It's like I just want to meet more women so that I can have the opportunity to pick the right one for me, who's going to enjoy my presence as much as I enjoy hers. But that was her reaction, was like, yeah, if a guy approaches me, then I'm worried that he must be able to approach anybody, and he probably does. So what do you think about that?
So do you feel like that's a lack of safety in that? Do you feel like she's feeling the lack of safety?
She didn't like it, like that idea. Like she was saying if a guy is too confident, then it's bad.
Yeah.
Which I can understand that.
Oh yeah, me too.
And I told her about, because I think at a certain point, if you are coming off as too confident, you might be like faking it if you're not showing any vulnerability. But maybe that's something different. Because I told her how if I'm approaching someone and I am really nervous, I'll say it. I'll say, I'm very nervous to come talk to you, but I had to. And she really liked that. She was like, oh my gosh, that's so, like, it's so disarming. Like it breaks that. But yeah, what do you think? If a guy is just super confident, do you think it's just intimidating to the woman?
Yeah. And I think
That's like he has no chinks in his armor. He's just,
yeah, we have to think that we're talking about sort of like a Goldilocks zone between the Mr. Nice Guy side, which is the scarcity side, the withholding your desires, and then the polar opposite end, it's the dangerous men. And the dangerous men are the ones that are, kind of maybe on the sociopathy kind of spectrum.
Like do what they want.
Yeah. And in between that is what we're talking about. In between that is a place where, we're bold and we're confident, but we're also humble, empathetic, and respectful.
Right.
So yeah, I think that the worry that comes up in women's minds, if they let their minds go to that kind of direction, is like, is this guy a player, or is this guy someone that's looking to use me because he has that confidence, he can go and talk to any woman that he wants. I can see that as being
right. There is a little bit of a fear if a guy is able to talk to whatever woman he wants. That's like, okay, he's probably just trying to have sex with as many women as he can.
Right.
So yeah, that's a good point. It's something to be careful about.
Well, it's something to be careful about, but it's also something that is going to naturally be assumed by some women. And you just have to, we noticed this when we were out in the domain, weeks ago, where Abhi was talking to one lady, and then he approached another lady, and the first lady walked by.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know why that bothers me so much, and it's because of this, because he doesn't want to be seen or portrayed as, a sleazy player. But the problem is that some women are gonna assume that no matter what you do. So you just have to, at that point, you just have to really go inside and just, make that understanding with yourself that that's not the person you are. And
find solace in that. And you're knowing.
Yeah.
And don't try and over-explain it to other people too.
Right.
Like don't try and prove yourself to a girl.
No.
Like, I'm not that.
No.
It's like just be who you are, and then if they care to find out more.
Yeah, trying to prove it does the opposite. It makes you look guilty.
Yeah. So we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had an ex-girlfriend who when I broke up with her, she was convinced that I was seeing someone else, or I'd met someone else. And I could not convince her. Like, I don't know why I even wanted to, because I was ending it with her. So it's like, why does it matter if she thinks that? But I was like, I swear I'm not.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't believe me.
So I had a thing with a particular lady that Will and I both know, who was having some odd accusations, odd assumptions about me in her life. And she got very upset out of nowhere. I had no idea what was going on, but she had built up this whole story about something that I did. And finally, when we got the opportunity to talk about it, basically, and this is basically the way you can kind of work with establishing your truth in when somebody's making the wrong accusations or the wrong assumptions about yourself. What I did was I acknowledged her, what she was feeling. I was saying, like, look, I understand that this has gotten you really upset, and I understand, how these thoughts can kind of come in at times. And I just tried to validate as much about what she was feeling, because whatever she was feeling was what she was feeling. There was nothing that I
can't change that.
I can't change that. But at the end of it, I said, but all of this is not true. This is just not the case. This is just not what I'm experiencing, what I'm feeling. So if you're able to just not dismiss the outrageous accusations that they're saying, and if you're able to have that empathy that people feel things that maybe are not true sometimes, and then ensure that you lead it back to the stone cold truth of what you were experiencing, that makes everything so much easier and so much better.
That reminds me, we've talked about that with like the coming off as creepy. And like if a girl is a little bit like hesitant at first to talk to you, like understand it and then be like, I see why you would think that, but here's why, like you don't need to. You don't need to be afraid of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Someone told me yesterday, they were like, if you want to change someone's mind, ask them questions. Don't try and like convince them of something.
Oh yeah.
Just ask questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it could be like, how, why did you feel that way?
Yeah.
What was it?
What
that
was it
caused
that came out that made you feel that particular way? Yeah. Get like just do detective work and just get to the root of what are the things that are actually popping up.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have a sense, because women work with emotions on a much deeper level than we do.
Mm-hmm.
I do get the feeling sometimes that they have a struggle knowing what their intuition is telling them and knowing what their traumas are telling them. And I think that they get those mixed up sometimes. Because the girl that I was having,
They're kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
In some ways. Like intuitions are just built up like knowledge, and traumas are just like kind of, I mean, it's built up knowledge, but based on something that's
on fear,
kind of out of, I guess on fear
and pain,
and out of the ordinary.
And traumas are built up as, defense mechanisms, as things that when you get the first hint of danger, run for the hills kind of thing. And what I was noticing in her is that I think her responses to me in that whatever that was were more of a response of the traumas that she had up, rather than anything that I specifically did.
Mm-hmm.
So by being in that conversation with her and acknowledging her traumas, asking questions about that response that she had, made her feel safe to open up about it, which is why, mentioning to ask questions is so powerful, because you're creating a space for her to express those things and really get a sense of like, are these things real or are they not real?
Yeah, that's good. I know for a lot of people are very stubborn, myself included. And it's like when you start trying to like say something, say how it is, and it's not how they experienced it, it's very much like that's where my guard goes up. And I like dig in to whatever I had my belief was.
Well, let me tell you, man, in the middle of that thing, I mean, I was angry and I was upset, and I felt very abandoned in the fact that she wasn't really seeing my truth, like
Mm-hmm.
that I have built up with her since day one.
Yeah.
And so when I got in that conversation, I was ready to react too. And I had to push that down. And I had to open it up to honest, authentic communication. I had to put my emotions to the side so that I could at least open it up so we could get a good idea of what we were working with. So, there were many times where I wanted to get angry and really like be like, how dare you question my truth? Like, this is the way I felt. Like, that kind of stuff would want to come out.
I had this, I went to this one men's group a while ago, and the way they would do, so they would give people a chance to like just go in the middle of the group and say something that they had some emotional charge around. But the way you had to do it was you had to say like data and then say something. And so it had to be something not emotional, just data, whatever. Say that like straight up fact. You can't say how you feel about it, what you think about it. It has to just be data. And then after that, then you're allowed to say like whatever emotion, and then whatever.
Interesting.
So yeah, sometimes you do have to like feel like, okay, what actually happened? That is not like not debatable.
Mm-hmm.
And put the emotions aside. Okay, let's go to our community question. So this one comes from Dalton, who was on last week's episode. And he says, I'm seeing a girl who is really kind and I do enjoy my time with her. However, I'm not feeling attracted to her and don't feel very excited when seeing her. What is the best way to go about telling her I'm no longer interested? So my thought here, and it's what I told him as well, which is don't assume that this girl is like dependent on your validation of her. Like assume that she has her shit together and like she's not basing her self-worth on you liking her. And then it's like, don't string her along.
That's good advice, because oftentimes, I mean, and by the way, we can apply this question to any kind of breakup kind of situation, I think. Yeah, man, when I've had to break up with women, I've always had it in my mind, because I do have somewhat of a savior fixer complex. And I have it in my mind that if I break up with them, it's just gonna like tear them down.
Oh yeah.
Big time. And it's just so not true. Like,
dude, I've had that with girls like I've just dated a few times. I'm like, what is she gonna do? And it's such a weird. It's like she had like her life was moving along before I met her. Why would it not just keep?
I know. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're just blips in the timeline of their life, you know, and yet we feel like we're so important or something like that. But yeah, with that situation, with any kind of breakup situation, you don't ever want to be talking about them. You always want to be talking about yourself and what you need and what you're not feeling like things are working. You are not feeling like it's a good fit. You're not feeling like I wouldn't even say I don't feel like I'm satisfied. That sounds almost kind of like it has something to do with them. You want to be talking about specifically your experience. And so, yeah, it's not working for me. It's not a good fit for me. I'm not feeling connected. I'm not feeling like this is the thing for me right now.
Yeah, I had one maybe 4 or 5 dates in a bit ago, and it just like there wasn't a spark, you know? Like she was attractive and I think she was attracted to me, but there wasn't that energy, and she totally knew it too, I think. So at a certain point I was just like, you know, I just told her that. I said, I don't feel like the connection is like what it, you know, what it could be.
The way you want to think about it is you want to think about it like you're talking about the relationship, not the person.
Yes.
That's the big difference.
It's your experience with this relationship, this connection with someone.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And be careful not to be like, you
do
did
this and you do that. Yeah.
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 Because I've had that. Remember that text that girl sent that I showed you?
No.
It was the one where I was gonna see her on Friday, and then I texted her the day of, and I was like, hey, like, good if I pick you up at this time. I have a good plan. And then she responded. Remember that?
No, it's not ringing a
and
bell.
She
right
was
now.
Like, it's hard to get in communication with you.
Oh yeah.
And it was so directed at me.
Yes.
It was like, you're very hard to communicate with.
Yes.
You're very like,
yeah.
As if it was just me like, no, like we're communicating. It's a two-way thing.
It's a two-way street. Exactly.
So that text felt very offensive. Like I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's weird because I feel like, I mean, ultimately, if we're going to be causing the matter of all things in our life, if we're going to be causing the matter of our relationships, we're consistently choosing to stay with a person. We're consistently making that decision. So ultimately, there is no blame for anybody else.
Yeah. Just own your situation.
If that lady wanted to get in touch with you, reach out to Will. It's not, don't pin this on Will.
Mhm.
Like, this is, if you want to reach out to somebody, you reach out to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. So for Dalton, just be honest with her. And I think that's what he ended up doing, because this was maybe like a week ago that he asked me this.
Okay.
But yeah, just tell
Try
her
to do
honestly.
it in person. Try to.
Okay, that's a good point. When should you do it in person?
I just try to do it in person as much as possible.
But if it's like one date, then
I understand. I mean, yeah, if you're going that meta, then I understand.
maybe a voice note still would be nice
Voice note would be nice.
if you've been on a date with him.
But if you've been going on like 5 dates, 6 dates or something,
Yeah, that's a good point.
I would probably try to do it in person.
If it feels like it could be going somewhere, and then you're like, I actually don't want this, then probably it's a good.
Yeah. And
But with
easier
this
said
one,
than
I
done.
was in, like, I could feel it. I could feel neither of us were really in it. So that's why I just left the voice note.
Okay.
And she responded similarly. She was like, yeah, I kind of feel that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like 5 dates is a good point where you should probably just tell them in person.
Yeah. Easier said than done.
I know.
I feel it. Community. I feel it, because that's just the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Just having to sit face to face with somebody. But all the times that I've done it, it's never been as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Really?
Never been as bad.
Like no breakup?
No breakup has ever been as bad as I thought. But I've built it up to be very big in my mind. Your breakups were
okay, but I built mine up to not be that big.
okay.
Okay, so what happened is I told her, there was one point where I told her, I was like, I don't want this to keep going. I want to break up. And then we talked about it, and we didn't really finalize that, I guess, that day. And we had like this plan of like this comedy show we were going to in a different city. Like we had this stuff we were doing. And so we ended up doing that anyways. And then like a week later, it came back up, and I was like, I still feel this way. And so I kind of had this idea, because I had been saying it over and over, that she was going to like take it well and it would be easy enough. But then when we had the in-person talk, it did not.
Really?
It was really bad. Yeah.
Did she just react very emotionally?
Yeah, she just put a lot of blame on me for a lot of different things.
Oh, wow.
And I was at the point then where I was just shut down. Like she would just say something and I'd be like, okay. Okay. I did that. Yes. And then, yeah, basically had like a 2-hour one-way conversation.
Wow. Was this with one of the girls you were dating when I was coaching you?
No. This was a relationship. Like a long-term.
Okay. Yeah. That's rough.
Yeah. So that was bigger than I expected. And then I felt, I don't know, I kind of like believed the things she was saying about all these things I did wrong, all these ways that I was a bad person. That took me a while to really realize, like, okay, I don't have to believe all of that. Yeah. Because I was in a similar place where I was like, what is she going to do now without me? How is she going to? Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't assume that that's going to be the reaction of most women.
No. I wouldn't either.
Yeah. The more I've been attracting better women into my life, the less intense the breakups have been.
That's very true. The more mature they are, the more. Yeah. Yeah, I had one recently that was, we had like maybe gone on 4 dates or so. But it was more, it felt better at the time. And then one day, like, we saw each other, and then the next day I just didn't feel it anymore, like at all. And so I sent her a voice note, and I felt so bad. And then her response was like, yeah, she was really excited about it, but she totally understood, and like these things happened,
Wow.
and it was like a super mature response.
Wow.
So yes, that's very true.
Is she in her 30s?
No, 26, maybe 27.
Okay. Wow, she's a mature lady.
She was a very mature lady.
That's great. That's so cool. Yeah, it's key takeaway is to make sure that you address the relationship and how you feel about the relationship, not about them, and not about their actions. Talk about the connection. Talk about the feeling that you don't feel like it's a good fit. That those are all things that are true, and that don't require you to have to go in on where that person is not showing up the way that you want them to. Because that's really what it's all about. It's like, I have an idea of the way that you need to show up, and you haven't been doing that. That's the
yeah. And another thing would be, if you are, I don't have as much experience here, but if you're in a relationship where maybe like you don't necessarily, it's not the point where you feel like you have to break up, but you're like, I want this person to do something differently. I think trying to take responsibility in some way is going to really help make that work. Of like, I haven't been clear, similar to like the family talks, is like, I haven't been clear with what I want. And then she'll probably be more open to hearing it, rather than like, you're not doing this thing that I want you to be doing.
Right. But, all of our desires to change people or to make them show up differently in the world, all of our attempts of doing that are really just a coercive manipulation that we're like subconsciously enacting. And just to remind you about what my coach from Landmark said when I had to break up with my last girlfriend, she told me to tell my last girlfriend that I've been lying all this time, that I've been untruthful and inauthentic in what I really want. So I mean, because ultimately that's what's happening. If you're sticking around waiting for somebody to change, if you're sticking around, you're dissatisfied with their behaviors, and you've let them know about what those things are that are bugging you, and they still are doing it, then you're doing them a disservice. You're doing yourself a disservice staying in that relationship. So get out.
Yeah, get out. It's just going to build resentment too if you stay with them.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I have to be with this person, not because I want to, but because I feel like I need to help them.
Yeah.
Or not hurt them. And then you're going to feel resentment towards them, which is going to come out in subtle ways that you don't have really control over.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, what do you got?
All right. What do we got?
I thought of something too that I can talk about.
Yeah, why don't you start then?
I'm going to start. Okay, mine is about jealousy.
Oh, I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. It's interesting because when I started working with Tim and I was like taking dating seriously, I had this idea of like, I don't want to get into a monogamous relationship, because if I'm dating multiple people, then I'm kind of confronting jealousy in the way of like, the girls I'm seeing are seeing other people, right?
Yeah.
What I realized is when you get into a monogamous thing, it's much more, the jealousy is like right there.
Yeah.
At least if you're someone who has that tendency, and I definitely have that. But the thing I've realized is I now have way more tools in my toolbox, in my emotional toolbox.
You sure do.
So I've been thinking about that more and realizing, like, in certain moments I've felt jealousy, and then I've ran from that feeling. I've like tried to stay away from it, or try not to say things that could bring up a topic that would make me feel that way. And then there was one night this past week where I was like struggling to fall asleep, and I thought of something that sparked it. And then I was like, let me just dig into this. And so I just let myself think that thing and then feel the jealousy. And I just went into the feeling. And I realized what the actual feeling of jealousy is. And it's just a feeling. It's just an emotion. And after doing that, you know, it was like intense for like 30 seconds or so. And then I thought the thought, and then I felt it a little more, and I thought the thought, and slowly I like stopped feeling it. And then now I can like actually think about that thing, and there's no charge. So that was cool. That was where I was like, oh, this thing that I thought was like my problem for life is actually just an emotional charge that I can like figure out how to deal with.
Yep.
And potentially, like, it's never going to go away, but potentially release some of that.
Yeah. I mean, Raina's been doing her work with you. That's so good, man.
Yeah.
That is so good. That's such a powerful, powerful thing.
Yeah.
To be able to
now
sit
I
with that
can,
emotion.
when I've had jealousy in the past, it doesn't allow me to see someone as a full person because there's that beating around the bush that happens so much. Because I'm thinking about like, I don't want them to somehow bring up something that will make me feel jealous. Whereas if I can like work on this and know that I can feel jealousy, that's okay. Then now I can see them as a whole person.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know, in doing so, you're not needing them to conform to your emotions. You're not needing to manipulate the relationship so that you can avoid that.
Right.
You can actually see them for who they really are
be
now.
a full person, and there's like a bigger upside to that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you can fully understand them and
yeah,
not try and put them into a box of like, this is who you have to be, otherwise I'll freak out. And like, yeah.
It's just a matter of us connecting and relating to our emotions is what so much of this stuff, especially the approaching, so much of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
When you become familiar, when you create that relationship, you become familiar with those emotions. And then when they come up, you have a sense of what they're all about, you know? Going out on Saturday, doing my first approach, talking to, holy shit, what was it, like 15 girls or something like that? All dressed up, looking good for a birthday.
Yeah.
Like, I felt that fear come in, but I was like, yeah, this is the fear that comes in though all the time.
Yeah.
This I'm familiar with this thing. And I know that every time I felt this way and I went and did it, I didn't feel that fear anymore. So it's just a familiarity that you're creating with that emotion.
There's almost a good, like, of course, where you're like, of course I'm feeling this. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm doing something crazy.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to stop doing it.
Right.
This is what happens when I do this.
Right. Totally. But, you know, deeper down, it's important to understand where the jealousy comes from. Mm-hmm. And, you know,
I think I figured that one out too.
Yeah. Why don't you let us know what you found out?
Because I was thinking about it after, and I was writing about it a little bit. I have this new thing I do when I work out. I have my gym log where I just write down my workouts. And what I started doing is I bring another notebook, and that I just write down ideas in. Because when I'm working out, like, blood is flowing, like endorphins are going off, like my brain is very active, and I get really good ideas when I'm in the gym. So I recommend that to anyone who works out, is like, bring a journal to write down stuff.
Interesting.
But I was writing about that, and I realized it was because I have a certain sense of self-worth that I defined by my partner at certain times in my life. And so then if I ever feel, let's say they have a past partner, then I feel like I'm on the same level as, like, I'm defined by that. So then if they have that same thing with the other person, well, then what am I? So it's that. It's not taking control of my own self-worth,
Gotcha.
having it be intrinsically defined.
Wow, that's really great.
Yeah.
It's a great insight.
So then I realize, oh, I'm defining my self-worth by someone else right now. Let's
Yeah.
stop doing that.
Yeah.
Let's come back to myself.
Yeah, wow. I'm sure a lot of guys can relate to that. I'm sure. I know I can as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's easy to get wrapped up in something early on and be like, this is amazing. This is my life now. This is who I am.
Especially when you're out there talking to women that you feel are above your pay grade too.
Yes.
You know, it's very easy to attach your value to that.
Yeah.
It's really easy to do that.
Sure. For sure.
All found ourselves in that spot, brother.
Yeah. So that was my big realization this past week. And I feel so good going like forward now.
Yeah.
It's like, again, I got the tools.
And again, it's like, I feel like even just the simple reminder of like, I got to experience this lady, and maybe she does, you know, God forbid she does cheat on me with another guy. I can still find another same quality lady that's not going to do that too.
I'm usually more jealous about past partners.
Oh,
that's what brings it up for me.
Oh, I got you.
I've never been very like paranoid about cheating. I don't really know why.
Probably because you're not a cheater.
I'm not a cheater, and I'm a very just trusting in that way, I guess.
The one girl that I dated who was jealous of me was cheated on me during our relationship. Found that out years later. I think it's because that's the way they operate.
Yeah, so they're like, you must be cheating because that's the way my brain works. So
yeah.
Your brain probably works the same way.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't assume that. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm setting myself up for something, but I'd rather be that way than to be like paranoid and thinking that someone's cheating.
Yeah. That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. Do you remember what I said I wanted to talk about? I've totally forgotten now.
There was the Instagram girl.
Oh, yeah.
That was one.
So I met this.
And then we could talk about the group and some advice we gave yesterday.
Yeah,
Let's do your thing and then we can talk about that.
Okay. So I met this gorgeous lady at a coffee shop.
She was beautiful.
She's so beautiful.
Dude, I was upset.
I know you were.
When you went to talk to her, because I didn't know. I thought you were talking to someone else. And then you went up to her and I hadn't seen her before. And I was like, oh.
I got there quicker, buddy.
That was great, though. It was a good taste.
Super, super gorgeous. And I invited her to a gathering we were having. She wasn't able to show at that. Then just recently, this past week, I invited her to another gathering. She wasn't able to go to that either. But, you know, she's been responding to me. So I was like, well, if I haven't been able to invite her to any of these gatherings, maybe I should just invite her out on a date. But I've never been a social media person, and I'm only using Instagram now for our business. So I've never tried to ask a lady out on Instagram. And I know it's probably not rocket science, but I was asking Will before this podcast, you know, what should I do? What do you think how I should approach this particular thing? And my feelings is that probably want to create a little bit more rapport in the text. Now, just as like a sideline advice with messaging women on social media and also on dating apps, you don't want to have a full-blown conversation that lasts like tons of scrolls. You know, you want to create a little bit of rapport, and then you want to move to the activity.
What you're there for.
Yeah.
Which is to like actually get to know her.
Right. Exactly. So I might create a little bit of rapport, see how well she responds to that, and then just be like, well, hey, I've been wanting to meet you. I've been wanting to spend some time with you since I saw you last. So let's get together. Let's
Mhm.
I don't know how I'd feel about saying I want to go on a date right now, because I don't feel like I have enough of an understanding that that's how I want to frame it with her. I mean,
What
I do
about,
find her very beautiful, but I didn't really get to talk to her all that much. Curious what you think.
yeah, we talked about this a little bit yesterday about like the asking someone out on a date right away. And I think that's perfectly fine because a date can be an opportunity for you to see, is this someone I like? The intention is like, if we get along, it can become a romantic thing. It doesn't have to mean we have this romantic connection going into the date because you don't know. So I don't think asking someone on a date has to be, but that also doesn't take into account that you don't know how she thinks about what a date means.
Yeah, that's the thing that has me thinking a lot these days. Is like, I know I've seen you do it. I know I've seen Avi say like, let's go on a date sometime. And I sometimes wonder if that's really the wise move, because it can be seen in all different kinds of ways. It can be seen maybe as being desperate because you're wanting to lock someone into something romantically from the beginning, where you haven't really allowed that romantic feeling to sort of come about.
Mm-hmm.
It can be seen kind of like that maybe with some women. I know some women really love hearing that right off the bat. I'm sure your lady loved hearing that off the bat, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, no, she did. I mean, because you were telling me that she was, she was like, the next guy that comes up and approaches me, I'll go on a date
Yeah.
with them. Like, she was ready to go on a date. So for her, it works. But with this girl, I didn't really establish much. I did tell her that I found her attractive and that I thought she was really beautiful, but I didn't really like create that spark. The spark wasn't created throughout the conversation. So for me, kind of want to take a similar approach that I took with that other lady that is friends with Allison. I don't want to say her name. I feel weird saying people's names on this. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember now.
Where I didn't know if there was a spark or not. I was feeling something, but I wanted to wait for the conversation to be able to express all that. And
Yeah.
there wasn't even an opportunity to with her because she had other interests in mind. So in my feeling, it's like I want to express, like, I'd like to get to know you. I'd like to have like a conversation. Like I'd like to find out what you're all about. That to me feels more natural than saying like I want to take you on a date, because she's beautiful. Okay. God help me, like, beautiful. But is that enough? No. Not for me, at least. Like, I want someone who's got the heart and the soul. And so I think now that I'm thinking about it more and more, it's that route does make more sense to me. And on the date, if I'm feeling it, if I'm feeling the connection, then I'll say that.
On the date.
Yeah.
So why don't you want to call it a date?
You know what I'm saying. On the meetup or whatever. If I'm feeling the connection, I'll say that.
Okay. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I think you just don't get too bogged down by the name, like the words,
Yeah.
the date or not, or the meetup. Because I think if you do invite her, like you're like, oh, let's go hang out and do this thing. Like in her head, she's like, oh, it's a date. You know?
Really? I don't know.
I think so. I think it's either it's a date or this is a friend thing. So wouldn't you rather just say date so then it's clear what you're? Because yes, like you don't know if you're into her, but at the same time, that's the intention behind it, is like, I want to see if I'm into you and then pursue this for something longer.
I go back to Zan too, dude. And Zan doesn't say let's go on a date. Zan says there's something about you that is so incredible, and I have to, like, I need to spend time with you. Like, I know that I want to spend a whole evening with you. He doesn't define it as being a date, because again, I just think that word, it's not a really reliable word to use out there.
So then, are you going to express it some other way in the message?
Yeah, like I said, if I'm feeling the connection.
Oh, but not in the message, though. You'll just be like, I want to get to know you.
Well, in the message, like what I was saying, it would be something like, small talk, and then be like, if I'm feeling it in that moment, something like, I'm getting the feeling right now that I'd really like to spend time with you. I'd really like to get to know you more, or really like to carry this conversation over because I'm really, really enjoying it, or something like that. Basically just express what I'm feeling. If I'm feeling that the conversation is going in a direction that feels really good, then I'll express that there.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's good. And usually I'll tell girls I want to take them out. I don't say date. I should realize that.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But I mean, there's a clear connotation there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
And I think if you express it that way, it's clear that, like, there's a romantic intention behind it, where it's like you want to see if there's a romantic connection. Because I do think you want to avoid getting in a situation where the girl's like, is this a date? Or like, is this a friend thing? What is this?
Yeah.
You want to be a little clearer than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
and
sure.
then you can end up in situations like the guy I told you about who went on a wine date with a girl who had a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would also go into this meetup with the same with understanding that could happen too, because I don't really know her all that well. I don't see any dudes in her Instagram, but she also doesn't post on her Instagram either.
Right.
So yeah, that could possibly happen too, but I don't really care. I am just as open to having female friends as I am to dating them. So
Yeah, that's true too.
I have nothing to lose.
That's a good point. Okay, let's talk about our approach advice yesterday.
Oh yeah, with our friend Abhi.
Yeah.
So Abhi's an Indian dude, and he loves Indian ladies. He loves brown ladies. And we were at the park, and I don't recall if he actually had done an approach first after I gave him this advice, but at one point I mentioned to him, after doing my approaches, I was telling him what I'm focusing on. And I told him I'm focusing on taking everything slow. So as soon as I make that decision, I get that adrenaline rush. I slow it down after that. I walk slower. I just start observing everything around me. And then when I'm in that when I open up the conversation, there's another surge. I just slow it down a little bit after that. I try to talk slower. I try to have my gestures be more fluid, and I just start to observe what's happening in their space. So I think with one group of girls, they're all having lunch, and I dropped over to them. I was like, "Hey, I just had to come and tell you all, you all look so beautiful today." I think they might have said something about George, which they normally do. And then I was asking them, I said, "So y'all doing lunch out here? What'd y'all get?" And they told me they got their food from this place that I never heard about before, and I was asking about that. And then I asked them what they were doing, if they had any big plans later or anything, because it was a Saturday. And they said that they didn't, and I wasn't feeling really any desire to hang around any further, so I just wished them best and walked over. But I tried to do everything as slow as possible. And then when we were telling Abhi this, Will came in with another really great set of advice around focusing on talking from your diaphragm. And so, and which is essentially, and also paying attention to your breathing too is also a part of that. And so Avi did a few like that, and he recognized a huge difference.
Yeah. When you focus on speaking from your diaphragm, it like pulls you into the present moment. It really grounds you just by thinking about it.
Yeah.
So then when you're talking, you slow down and you just become in the moment.
Yes.
Rather than being anxious and thinking about what you need to be doing and how you need to be speaking and like whether or not they're interested in you.
Yeah.
You just let yourself project outward kind of.
Yeah. And, if this is something that's difficult for some guys to really imagine, a way to do it is just kind of visualize. Like, imagine your words in your belly coming up through yourself. Just focus down there. Like, I'm already starting to do that right now, and it's like a huge difference. Like, I feel centered. I feel aligned.
Yeah. And your words feel like stronger.
Yeah.
Just like a strength behind them.
Right.
Rather than when you get up in your head and like you're like squeaking out words and and that's your voice shakes and that kind of
right. Yeah. So that was really life-changing for him. It felt like a huge bomb dropped. That was really amazing.
Yeah. Hopefully he just remembers and keeps coming back to that. And then that'll be great.
Well, I'm going to be going out with him Tuesday, so I will keep reminding him, take it slow. I think I'm going to bring out the audio recorders too with Dylan and Abhi, just so I can listen into their conversations to hear what it's sounding like.
It's really going on.
Yeah. But that was really cool. That was a really cool realization.
Yeah. And then there was one other interaction we saw firsthand from another guy.
Oh my God.
And it felt so uncomfortable. So he went up and talked to this girl who was walking by and he kind of waved and then walked with her a little bit. And he was like, he's introduced himself. And the way I saw it, she just said, okay, and then said her name. Nice to meet you. And didn't look back at him. Said, oh, I'm this. Nice to meet you. And kept walking.
Yeah. But
I didn't even know what to say to him after that because I felt so uncomfortable.
I know. I think I was asking him, like, what is your normal way of approaching? And he was telling me he locks in with the eyes first. And he said that transforms his entire body.
And there wasn't a chance to do that.
Yeah, it didn't seem like there was much of a chance to do that.
Because she was walking. So
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they... Yeah.
Not the way I would have done it. But, I mean, this guy, he was telling me that he's back in the game. And he's had like a hiatus. So he's kind of getting warmed up. But he was telling me that he got used to doing this on a very regular basis. So, maybe it works for him.
Yeah, it could just be like it's one of his first ones back, so he's nervous and not
could be
acting the same way that he would have. Who knows?
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else for today?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, I got nothing else.
All right.
Let's wrap it up.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Thank you all for listening, and
thanks again for joining, y'all. And we're going to. You can find out more information about our program at theartofapproach.com. And if you're looking for coaching, if you're looking for any kind of advice, we'd love to hear from you. And you can also find us on Instagram at _approach_coach. And we look forward to seeing you next episode.
Do we do a new record? We'll do a new recording.